Jessica Pegula responds to Coco Gauff racket smash and criticizes Australian Open. Jessica Pegula is the most recent high-profile name to speak out about the incident involving Coco Gauff at the Australian Open. Gauff was filmed smashing her racket in one of the hallways of Rod Laver Arena following her defeat to Alina Svitolina. In a conversation with John Wortham from Sports Illustrated, Jessica Pegula explained why players are no longer safe outside the locker room. Jessica Pegula criticizes Australian Open over Gauff's situation. Pegula was among those who stood up for her, saying, "Yeah, I'm not a fan of the cameras." Speaking about Gauff's racket smashing incident in particular, she added, "I saw that last night, and I was like, geez. It's the same thing when Arena lost the final. I was like, can you just let the girls have like a moment to themselves? Honestly, we were talking about cameras years ago. I remember when Maddie Keys, her #1 priority on council was, we have to stop with these cameras. This is crazy. I think they ended up putting up signs so people knew there were cameras, but this year it feels even worse. I mean, I see. Like, I'll be in the gym, and there's video of me walking into the site. I saw people that didn't even know it was happening in areas that you don't think someone is kind of watching you. It's in every single hallway." Pegula agreed with Gauff's earlier comments about privacy during a press conference. Coco wasn't wrong when she said the only place is the locker room, which is crazy. You know, you're just kind of going about your day. To feel like someone is constantly filming you. Like someone online. Online people were zooming in on players' phones and stuff like that. That's so unnecessary. How Coco Gauff responded to the coverage of her racket smash. After addressing the issue of privacy during her press conference, Gauff went on to share a pointed message on social media, asking for understanding around her emotional reactions. That perspective has gained traction with several players, including Iga Swiatek, who raised similar concerns at the Australian Open, comparing the situation to feeling like zoo animals. Speaking in a follow-up interview, she explained, "I mean, that's life. It's sport. Everybody goes through those emotions. There are plenty of positive things in life, and that comes with pressure as well. It means you're doing something great and you have more responsibility as a person. You need to have time to deal with your own emotions and get used to it." A sharp crack, too clean to be mistaken for anything else, cut through Rod Laver Arena like a snap bone. Coco Gauff's racket hit the court once, twice, fragments of graphite skidding away as if embarrassed by their own violence. For a moment, the crowd inhaled together. Then the match moved on, because tennis always does. But not everyone forgot. Jessica Pegula watched from the tunnel, arms folded, jaw set, not in judgment, not in shock, but with the quiet recognition of someone who had felt the same pressure press its thumbs into her ribcage. She didn't flinch when the racket broke. She flinched at what came after, the silence that demanded the player explain herself. Later, microphones waited like insects. Pegula had never been the loudest voice on tour. She didn't explode, didn't perform rage. Her frustration tended to turn inward, simmering beneath her baseline consistency and calm interviews. But that didn't mean she was untouched by the chaos of the Australian Open, the long nights, the uneven scheduling, the heat that sat on players' shoulders like a physical thing. So when a reporter finally asked her about Gauff's smashed racket, Pegula paused. "I get it," she said. 2 words. Not an excuse. Not a defense. Just recognition. She talked about pressure, the kind that doesn't show up in highlight reels. The pressure of being young and expected to be perfect. The pressure of representing more than yourself. The pressure of knowing every reaction will be slowed down, zoomed in, turned into a headline before the sweat dries. A racket breaking isn't the story, Pegula added. What pushes a player there is. The quote traveled faster than the ball ever could. The Australian Open liked to call itself the Happy Slam, but happiness was a strange thing in Melbourne that year. Matches ran past midnight. Players waited hours to learn when, or if, they'd play. The heat policy felt theoretical, as if written for a different planet. Pegula didn't raise her voice when she criticized it. She never did. That was part of what made it uncomfortable. You prepare your whole life for these moments, she said. And sometimes it feels like the structure around us forgets that. Not just the athletes, she clarified, though everyone knew that's who she meant. The bowl kids wilting in the sun. The fans nodding off in the stands. The game stretched thin by spectacle. She wasn't angry. She was disappointed. That landed harder. Coco Gauff didn't comment right away. She rarely did when emotions were still loud. But she heard Pegula's words, of course. Everyone did. There was something strangely comforting about them. Not the criticism of the tournament, that was background noise, but the refusal to turn a single outburst into a personality trait. The refusal to reduce a competitor to a moment of fracture. Gauff had grown up under a microscope. She knew how quickly a cracked racket could become a cracked reputation. How easily passion became lack of discipline when filtered through expectation. Pegula hadn't let that happen. In the locker room, conversations shifted. Players talked more openly, about scheduling, about recovery, about how often they were expected to perform gratitude instead of honesty. Pegula didn't lead a revolution. She didn't have to. She simply said the quiet parts out loud, and others filled in the rest. The Australian Open officials responded with statements. Words like review and commitment floated through press releases. Promises were made in the future tense. Pegula read them, nodded, and went back to practice. Because that's the thing about tennis players, no matter how much they say, the next match always arrives. The cracked racket became a symbol, whether anyone wanted it to or not. For fans, it was drama. For critics, a talking point. For players, it was a mirror. Pegula never said smashing a racket was good. She never said it was right. She just refused to pretend it was rare, or monstrous, or deserving of moral panic. Tennis is emotional, she said later. If it wasn't, we wouldn't care. And that, more than anything, felt true that on the final night of the tournament, fireworks bloomed over Melbourne Park. The courts gleamed. The trophies shone. The speeches praised resilience, excellence, tradition. Somewhere in the crowd, a kid gripped a racket too tightly, dreaming of the future. Somewhere backstage, players iced their knees and packed their bags. And somewhere between the noise and the silence, Jessica Pegula's words lingered, not loud enough to dominate the headlines, but strong enough to matter. Because sometimes, creativity isn't about invention. Sometimes, it's about seeing the break and choosing not to look away.